phoko likopoze lithi kopokopo. Kasiphi. Ilishwa liphokoza okwamfula usuthu kangwane. Lithi phoko likopoze lithi kopokopo. Ilishwa liphokoza okwamfula usuthu kangwane. Lithi phoko likopoze lithi kopokopo.
History is a study of change over time, the study of the past, and that we can tell from histories that are written, we can read much more about the time that the history is being written than the time that it's writing about.
History is always fractured. There's a certain group that's going to tell the story, and very likely they're going to tell their version of the story.
A lot of that story has been erased deliberately. As they always say, history is told by the victors.
I think art is what makes it possible to enter into these histories that are so painful or unbearable otherwise.
Let's keep fracturing those histories, but also kind of recognizing in the breakages all the ways in which histories connect and are entangled and have these long aftermaths.
Well, on the day I was born, God was sick and could only pick at his food. But with a little schnapps, you can forget the world.
We're on board a ship, the Captain Paul Lemerle, from Marseille, bound for Martinique, June 1941. Refugees escaping from Vichy France. Communists, André Breton, Claude Lévi-Strauss, the anthropologist. And on board the ship also is the captain, who in fact is Karen, the ferryman of the dead, who not only are transporting these people across the Atlantic, but is able to call up historical characters from the past, and even some from the future, to reflect on the shift between Europe and its colonial past.
A figure that I thought was really interesting that Kentridge brings into this imagined exodus from occupied France is Frantz Fanon, because this is someone who basically realized as a psychoanalyst in colonized Algeria that the colonizers and the colonized both suffering from the violence of colonial occupation, and from this position of quasi-statelessness or exile at the very least was combating and therefore entangling different histories of occupation and oppression, entangling them in the name of a transnational liberation struggle.
I don't like the stories of the past. They are very painful stories, but they're truth. And it's about the truth that has to come up, that people can talk about. When it comes to the work that I do, it's not for me. It's really sharing a little piece of something in the hope that it sparks conversation, because that is what has been lacking, and albeit painful, or they call it uncomfortable truths.
Then I went to the heat and the wild, to the thistles and thorns of the waste, and they told me how they were beguiled, driven out and compelled to be changed.
There are two different kinds of historical fractures. One is due to the fact that we've often had a dominant historical narrative which leaves out important dimensions and perspectives. So that's almost an intentional fracture, versus the kind of fractures that are due to incomplete knowledge or incomplete evidence about a particular period.
Historically, our country at times has failed, sometimes catastrophically. And how we treated Japanese Americans during World War II was certainly one of those chapters. The beauty of this particular chapter is it does go back 80-something years, but it doesn't go back too far to where all those people are gone. That's how we can make up for it. There are still people who lived that era who can correct it, who can help us better understand it today, as opposed to how we taught it immediately after in the decades to come. And this is a perfect example of how these guys are considered the greatest fighting unit in American military history, and yet they're not in our history books. Why is that?
For artists and to be able to enter into the fracture and be able to actually simultaneously heal and make it bigger or make it something else, there's this transformative possibility of the fracture.
Taking as many different kinds of evidence and perspectives to heal the fracture, right? To include the different versions and to address the power relations that went into making the dominant version, and then these sort of subversive or these competing versions or these new layers of history that were not perceived, let alone valued in the past, and trying to arrive at some sort of fair and inclusive story.